All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Grizzly's Cave. This is Grizzly Andrew, and I have a very special guest with me today. But before I introduce my guest, I want to plug a couple of things. First, I want to plug the GoFundMe account that I've been plugging on previous episodes. It is Help Ben Build a Future for Indie Wrestling Stars. I do apologize, folks. I do not have the link with me, but the name of the account is Help Ben Build a Future for Indie Wrestling Stars. Any donations would be greatly appreciated. And also, I want to plug the next NAW wrestling event. It will be tomorrow night, Saturday, July the 12th at 7 p.m. at the Nebo Community Center in Nebo, Kentucky. Doors will open at 6 p.m. It is going to be the Rage in the Cage event. All matches will be contested in a solid steel cage. Ticket prices are as follows: free for anybody ages 0 to 5, $5 for anybody ages 6 to 12, and $8 for anybody ages 13 and up. Concessions will be made available. This is a family friendly promotion, and I promise folks you will not be disappointed. This is definitely going to be an awesome and an incredible event, and I know my guests would agree with me. All right, well, without further ado, I would like to introduce my guest at this time. I haven't had really any chances to speak with him, so this is going to be like our first ever in-depth conversation. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you El Loco Diablo. Diablo, thank you for coming to Grizzly's Cave. It is an honor and an absolute pleasure to be here with you, and I'm definitely looking forward to this episode that we're about to do together.
Hola, buenas noches. It's good to be here. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on because this is the first time in my career that I've ever had an opportunity to sit down with an American journalist.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, sir. No one's ever classified me as an American journalist. I'll just say I'm a rookie or an amateur podcaster that really loves the wrestling business. But it is an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here with you right now.
Thank you. Very kind, very kind.
So, anyways, like I said, I don't really know that much about you, but I basically, since you're a first time guest, you take as much time as you need. Tell me about your upbringing. You can tell me about your training, who trained you, where you've worked at, and any stories that you would like to share with the audience.
Wow, you want me to go that far back? Okay. You see, I was born in Osaka, Mexico, and I lived there with my grandmother and my grandfather. And my grandfather owned an agave plantation. That's the plant that makes the tequila. And um, so I pretty much just helped my grandfather all the time. And uh, when I get older, then mi abuelita, my grandmother, um, she would take me to watch the luchadors uh, there in Osaka and the city, and that's where I fell in love with the lucha libre.
I actually did not know that there was a city called Osaka down there. The only Osaka I've ever heard of was over in Japan. Um, but it's funny you mentioned about your grandparents. And I don't know if you've listened to the previous episodes I've done before, but my grandparents, God rest their souls, um, they lived in Beaver Creek, Ohio, and I'd go up there for like summer breaks, spring breaks, and over there at the Myers retail store, which that's a big thing up in that area.
The Myers.
Myers, yes, sir. It basically it's like Walmart down here,
Oh, okay.
but it's a lot nicer. And they had they had a video rental store, and it was really big actually. They had a crap ton of wrestling videos,
See, yes, yes.
a lot of Coliseum videos for WWF, and they also had stuff with NWA and all that. And needless to say, we frequented that store quite a bit whenever I'd go up to visit, and I'd rent a lot of wrestling tapes and all that, and watch them over and over again. And uh, uh, me, abuelita, she always called it wrestling. Always called it wrestling. And I said, Mama, which I'm a young kid, I said, Mama, it's called wrestling. I said, there's no A in it. Well, that's what we called it back in my day, Andy. It was called wrestling.
See, wrestling. I believe the American Dream, Dusty Rose, he used to call it the wrestling.
He did.
See, okay. So when I when I get out of the high school, um, my grandfather had passed away, and my grandmother, she take me and my two sisters, and we came to America. We came to Chicago. Um, I had uncle and some other family, and so we go to the Chicago with my grandmother, and my sisters they go away to university, and I found the the training facility uh, there in Chicago is where I could train. Uh, Senor Gomez, Senor Tapadia, they they trained me. Um, so I started the wrestling in Chicago, and a friend of mine invited me to the wrestling show in Evansville. So I come down to the Evansville, watch the show, and meet with my friend that was wrestling there, and he introduced me to the promoter, and so I start working uh, the Evansville area and traveling around that area of southern Indiana. I spill over into the Madisonville community, and then I found that this was like home, like second home, and I start wrestling uh, there in the Madisonville with the Randall Conrad and the Kenny Cotton, and I I found uh, that this place, my home. That's when I found this place, and uh, so we travel around here locally and uh, Litchfield, Bardstown, Owensboro, and that's how I found uh, JC Flash. JC Flash and I have known each other for a very long time, and he was just a little Paquito Nino. He was just a little guy, young guy back then, and so we've always kept in communication. When he tell me that he wants me to bring me to Nebo, uh, I said yes. We got to go to the Nebo, and so he brings me into Nebo, and I'm like, JC, well, these people haven't not seen a Loco Diablo for many years because I've been retired, and I said nobody's gonna know me. He said somebody's gonna remember you. And I said okay, we come, we can check it out. And sure enough, I hear the first time I come out there at the Nebo, that's El Loco Diablo. I have not seen him for so long. And I'm like, cállate, Chavato. Shut up, be quiet. Don't tell everybody else I'm that old. I'm not old. Timeless entity. But sure enough, people were coming up to me. They remember me from Madisonville and the other places in Evansville, and I love those people down there. Those fans, these are the best fans. that I've ever seen. They're just on fire all the time. The yelling and screaming, the clapping of the hands, and I just love those people.
You're definitely right. They are definitely on fire from start to finish, and I've been in attendance with the fans during some of the matches that I've been able to be present for, and I mean they
Also
gravitate to you
loud.
just like that. Yes, sir. They
Yes.
are very loud. They are very loud and very loyal fan base. Very loyal fan base, and to all the NAW fans, definitely appreciate all your love and support and stuff. I just thought I'd plug that in there. But I wasn't able to see your return match because I was sick and my oldest daughter was sick too. The flu was going around at the time. I believe that was at the February show. I think you had that's when you had returned for a tag match with JC. Does that sound about right?
Yes, that's when JC reached out to me. He told me he was having some problems down here, with some of these guys, these nasty boys, and he said he needs some help. So I said, I got two, amigo.
When you say nasty boys, folks, we're not referring to Brian Knobs and Jerry Sags, but I'm assuming you mean the Nightmares of Nob.
If that's what you want to call them, I don't call them a nightmare. They're not even the closest thing is maybe a bad dream.
Well, I'll tell you, anytime Slugger Jackson steps out into the arena or even gets a microphone, it's definitely a bad dream.
All he do is talk, talk, talk all the time. The talk. He's no action. You know, you want to fight me? Come and get in the ring. We'll have us a fight. But he all he wants to do is he wants to sit out there and run his mouth. No, no.
Yeah, he's definitely not popular with JC Flash by any means, and he's definitely not popular with the fans. That's for dang sure. Yeah, I agree with you. All he does is just run his mouth off, and like you said, no action, and he just kind of sounds. But Justin Styles, he was on a previous episode a couple of months back, and me and him both agreed for as much as Slugger Jackson gets beat up and stuff, he continues to talk a lot of shit.
Well, that's funny. You bring up Justin Styles. I thought Justin Styles was a good guy. I thought he was, you know, good wrestler, great worker. And I get into the golden ticket tournament, and Justin wasn't even in the ring. He got knocked out silly by the Hood Billy, and I set the Hood Billy up. I give him the south of the border bomb, and I've got him pinned right there in the middle of the ring. One, two, three. That golden ticket should have been mine. But no, the Justin Styles, Mister, I don't want to be nice guy no more. Whatever. He super kicked me right in the side of the head, kicked me out of my shot. I'm telling you, one day, one day, Justin Styles will have to answer for his sin.
It's funny you mentioned that about answering for our sins. Um, I know Slugger Jackson, he's definitely going to have a lot of sins to atone for, and I'm kind of curious if he's actually going to even be in that match tomorrow night in the War
If he's
Games.
smart, he's stay at the casa. If he's smart, he's keep his buddy home. I will tell you right now, he come into the ring with me. I'm gonna give him everything I got. I'm gonna punch him in the face. I'm gonna kick him in the face. I'm gonna kick him in the stomach, and then I'm gonna put the south of the border bomb on him right there in the middle of that cage. One, two, three. No more Jackson. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
I hope you're hearing that, Slugger Jackson. It'd be best for you to stay home and do us all a favor and don't bother coming back. But if you do happen to get a hold of him and put him in that south of the border bomb, can you send him a little further south, straight to the gates of hell?
Oh, see, see.
Do us all a favor.
Diablo is very familiar.
I don't speak a whole lot of Spanish, but I know. Does anybody call you Crazy Devil or do?
Every once in a while. Not very often. It's Generally, is when is I go somewhere for the first time, and somebody wants to say, "Hey, crazy devil." Well, it's okay. It's okay because that's what I am. I'm a crazy little devil. That's where the old Loco Diablo came from.
I understand that. Let me gear back. Now, you said you had spent some time up in Chicago.
See,
Now, how long were you up there for?
8 years.
8 years. I've never been to Chicago. Um, I heard the winters can be pretty rough up there.
See, yes, yes.
What about what about the not so winter months? Is it like hot and humid, or
It's
what?
no different than here,
No different than
but
here.
it's hot. I think it's hotter because of the more buildings and the more blacktop and the concrete.
I don't know about you, but I generally stay away from heavily congested cities or metropolitan areas, whatever it is people want to call them and stuff. I don't think my anxiety could deal with a place like Chicago.
No, I don't like the big city.
Um, who were who were some of the luchadors that you liked
Growing up,
growing up,
oh,
or even a fan of to this day?
I still to this day I go back and I watch the tapes and the YouTube of a lot of the old guys. Um, El Negro, uh, Mil Máscaras, Santo, the Blue Demon, and my all time favorite is my amigo. I've looked up to this guy. He's a great guy. Uh, La Paca. He's the best guy. We were roommates one time
Oh, really?
for about 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
See, for
And
about 2 weeks.
what was that? How what was that like?
That was very short lived. He was on the road. I was on the road. We never saw each other. And then he got the job in Atlanta, so he moved down to Georgia, and of course I stay here. So
I always liked watching him on WCW, of course, back during the Monday Night Wars with
yes,
with
yes.
Nitro and Raw. Anytime I got to see him in a match, God, he was a great wrestler, but man, he was also entertaining as well.
He was so funny. That's one of the greatest things about him. It was his sense of humor, and he always cutting up, making the jokes. But that dance of his, it was so unique. It was just him, and he was a great guy.
He would always play. I guess we can't really call it air guitar. I guess we call it chair guitar. Because he'd be strumming that chair
Yes,
guitar and
the
stuff.
chair guitar.
And hell, he did that a hell of a lot better than I know.
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Well, I was going to say than what Hollywood Hogan did whenever he would come out trying to strum the guitar on his on the world
Yes.
championship belt. But I know Justin Style likes to say that that's my hero. No, that is not my hero. So that don't work for me, brother. So, but
Are you
uh,
sure?
I'm positive.
I don't know anybody, nobody who wasn't influenced into this business by that one guy. But like him or hate him, everybody I think today was influenced because he had everything. He had the lunch boxes, he had the cartoon show, and you couldn't go anywhere without seeing one of the foam fingers. Everybody, all the little kids around the world was saying their prayers, eating their vitamins. Everybody, but The Rock said it best. He said it when he turned on the fans. Everybody, they turned their back on him. Nobody liked him after that, and that's where that negative attitude about him comes from. There was no babyface ever that was ever as over as that man. So yes, even when those little kids, the little maniacs, got older, they were still heartbroken over that. It doesn't change nothing about what that man did. In the business, he was still doing shit. He was still on fire in the business, but it's because of that turn. That was a turn on a whole nother level. Because up until that point, your wrestling icons weren't movie stars. They didn't make the movies that he did. They didn't have the product endorsements like he did. Everywhere. Can you tell me one time you go to school and you don't see a Hulkamaniac there at the school?
I'm actually glad you asked me that. Back in this, let's see, I was still living in Caldwell County. I was in elementary school, fifth grade. This was right after Hogan turned and joined the Outsiders to make the NWO. I had a classmate. He actually brought an autographed picture signed by Hollywood Hogan. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he was a
Everywhere.
maniac. Yeah, I will. I
But
will.
there was no wrestler on that level yet until he did it. And then when he made the heel turn, everybody took that personally.
I will say this.
Tell me one bad match he had after the heel turn. They
Uh,
was just the same as before.
I would say, and this is hard for me to say because I'm a big Ultimate Warrior fan. Um, you don't know. I don't believe you knew that, but a bunch of others know that. My favorite match was actually Warrior and Hogan at WrestleMania 6, 1990, over at Toronto.
Right.
That's my favorite match. Second one would be obviously Savage and Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. However, the worst match I saw Hogan in, it also involved Ultimate Warrior. It was the rematch
Right.
they had at the '98 Halloween Havoc and stuff. Whenever Warrior was brought in for like a 2 to 3 month deal or something. I watched the match and it was hard to watch. But
But how many other wrestlers had the lunch boxes, the shirts, the hats, the belts? Nobody. Nobody but Hogan.
I
You
w-
didn't see no junkyard dog lunchbox. Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior. He had a lunchbox. Macho Man Savage. There was no Jake Roberts. There was no Dino Bravo lunchbox. Who got the most push on the merchandise?
Hogan.
And that's why everybody knew who the hell he was. People did not have nothing to do with the wrestling business. Knew who that man was. He was on talk shows. You never saw Hillbilly Jim on a lunchbox unless it was Hogan's Heroes from the cartoon show. No, you never saw the Iron Sheik on Johnny Carson.
No, there might be some other reasons for that. We might get into that later, but no.
But everybody knew him. And everybody today is Hogan, he suck. Hogan, he no good. Because of that damn heel turn. And they took it very, very personal.
True. But I will say this, and no, this is not me being a Hulkamaniac, but when he went back to Vince in '02, I mean, I was probably like a lot of other people. I was shocked. I never thought I'd see the day. But they took him in. The fans did took him in instantly, and then the red and yellow came back. He still had that hybrid with his Hollywood whenever he was Hollywood Hogan. He brought the long pants, the feathered boas, but he brought the yellow and red back. Hulkamania was basically running wild again.
But do you know what put that over? The Rock.
Yes.
If Hogan hadn't have fought The Rock, he would not be over. I don't think so.
Do you hypothetically speaking, because we never got to see the match, but had he had that match with Austin at that same WrestleMania, which that was 18, I believe, in '02, had he had that match with Stone Cold, do you think he still could have gotten over the way that he did when he had his short return back in the early 2000s?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
Who was better, Austin or The Rock?
I'd have to say Rock.
Who's getting that big production push? Who's getting that merchandise push? I think the world would probably agree with you. So I don't think he gets over as good with Austin like he did.
Mm. No, he probably wouldn't have, but I've never really asked that question to anybody. You're the first person I've ever
Okay.
asked that. So, but no, I'm glad you shared that insight. I did. Okay. Oh gosh, I guess it's a time for a confession here. Um,
No, no, it's me, amigo. You go into the closet for that here. Oh, I
well,
get the I give my wife. She get the holy water. I get the priest. You need the communion.
I actually missed communion at my church this past Sunday. I actually left early. I don't know if you knew this, but I sing at my church, and I actually left church early because my back was hurting so bad. It was hurting to sit, it was hurting to stand, and I wound up going home. We were actually going to have communion that day.
You're not Pentecostal.
No, sir, I'm a Methodist.
Those people go to church whenever they feel bad. They go to church, they feel healed. You go to church, you feel bad, you go home. he's a go home acosto.
Oh me. All joking aside, I did. I was. It's funny because I was actually raised. I was actually raised in the Assemblies of God Church by my mom and stepdad, but me and my brother both. And my brother's Catholic, and I'm Methodist. So rather, it's a little ironic. We were both raised in the charismatic church, but we're not regular attenders there. So um, I've been going to this Methodist church for about 2.5 years. But no, we don't do confession. But here is my confession. So um, when I was a kid, I guess we could say yes, I was a Hulkamaniac, and yes, I was shocked. I was
Everybody
I
was.
was yeah, like everybody else. I was shocked, hurt, betrayed because he became, he turned bad, but
Because he was always that guy.
he was always that
He was
superhero.
he was he was our superhero. He was our, and a lot of the Rocky movie came from Hogan. The way the comebacks when Rocky was getting beat to death, and he makes the big comeback, just like Hogan. Didn't matter who he was fighting. Abdullah, Kamala, the Sheikh, the Nikolai, all these big guys, all these bad guys, were always beating him down, down, down. But what could we always when them hands started shaking, you knew what was about to happen.
Oh yeah,
And so he'd do his thing. He'd just shake the hands, and you knew the bad guy was about to get his booty whooped.
yes sir.
That's what we all loved about it. It was inspirational. It touched people on so many levels. It brought families together.
Yep,
And then he turns bad guy.
yeah.
And everybody got shit on.
I had a they were called wrestling buddies. They were, in the shape of, they were basically pillows, but they were shaped like the wrestlers. I know Warrior had one. Savage actually had two. At one is Macho Man and one is Macho King. Um, Andre may have had one. I know WCW followed suit, but I had a Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy. I had Hulk Hogan action figures, and I used to watch that show he had. It was Thunder in Paradise. I remember watching that when I was a kid, and watched the movies he was in and stuff. Back in the early to mid '90s, and actually can't forget No
The
Holds Barred.
80s.
That came
No
back
holds
late
barred
'80s.
with Zeus.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Rocky 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not a lot of people know this, but that really helped elevate him when he went to AWA.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
found that.
ask anybody today, and they'll tell you, Hogan, nah, it's no good.
Yeah,
They're still reeling from that. There's a deep emotional damage.
yeah,
There really is.
yeah.
I listen to your podcast. I hear you say, and I hear other people say, not to mark out, not to be a mark. I'm the biggest mark in the business. I'm the biggest mark I know. Why? I was that fan.
Yeah.
I was that little Hulkamaniac that was saying his prayers and eating the vitamins. And I, I remember uh, my grandmother. She took me to the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago, and there's where I saw, and it ran wild all over everybody there. Me too, mi abuela, everybody. But he make that turn, and everybody not say he suck, he no good.
As soon as you said, I know you saw it. My eyes got big as soon as you said Rosemont Horizon because I automatically started thinking to the old pay per views and
See,
stuff.
yeah,
And
see. You know who Hogan fight that night?
let me see, gosh,
Andre
Andre.
with Bobby Heenan. See, he was a giant.
Mm-hmm.
Hogan slayed a giant. Big John Studd, the big bad Russian everybody was so afraid of. The Sheik, the Iron Sheik,
Mm-hmm.
Kamala, all these people, the legends, didn't represent a faction, a city, or town. They were representing countries.
Right.
Nikolai Volkov, because he come out there, they sang the Russian anthem, they waved the flag. The programming was the Russia's bad.
Right.
We got the great American hero over here. He's going to beat the Russian. No matter how bad the Russians beat him down, he come back when he starts shaking those hands. And everybody got behind that. It was deep. It was passion. Kamala, Ugandan giant. Right? See?
Mm-hmm.
Uganda. It's a country.
Yep.
A giant. These people never see a man that size. When he come out with the painting and everything on his stomach, they represented things larger than what wrestlers do represent today.
I watched a house show match that Hogan had with Kamala. It was on YouTube. I don't know if it's still on there because YouTube videos they can be up for a while and then they can be up for a short time and be taken off. But I watched a match that he had with Kamala, and Kamala had to have been mid 300s, maybe close to four at that point, and he was like 6'5", 6'6". I mean, the man moved like a luchador,
See?
and I mean, when he did a leapfrog over Hogan, I was like, no freaking way, because I'd never seen that. The Kamala that I grew up watching was 92 into 93, when he had his run with Taker and then he had his thing with Reverend Slick, and then he had a brief run in WCW. That's the Kamala I knew. I never saw him
See?
do that.
Right, right.
And then when I saw that older video, I was like, no freaking way.
Do you know who come up with the gimmick for Kamala?
Jerry the King Lawler.
Jerry Lawler. He was running around and they say, Jerry, I got some guy I want you to look at. He walks in there and he looks want to look at this guy. And there's a painting. There's a painting that inspired the Kamala character. But yes, see.
Uh,
But you understand what I'm saying, though.
yes, sir.
He fought these the way that it was programmed when we were younger. You know, these men, these big bad men, and they were larger than life. They were bigger than anything you've ever seen. You never seen a Russian the size of Nikita Koloff. You never saw a Russian the size of uh, Boris Zukov, and they were mean,
Mm-hmm.
big, bad, mean. But we had Hogan, and it didn't matter. They beat him. They beat him. He gets up. The hands go to shaking. We knew he was bringing it home, baby. And then he makes the turn.
Yeah.
That would be like walking in on your closest relative and seeing them doing some thing, that is beyond what you think they're capable of doing. That
Right.
scars children.
Oh yeah.
We're all scarred from that turn.
Oh yeah. Most definitely.
Now, as far as the personal stuff of how he screwed people over in the business, uh, you know, that's that's between them. But as fans, we saw the one thing, the one good thing that we knew we could count on all our life. And for a lot of these guys, it was all their life. And then to see that your icon turn on you.
And then he said something that I'll never forget. My memory sucks these days, the older that I get, but there was something that he said after all that trash and debris got thrown into the center of the ring. Um, while Mean Gene is interviewing him,
Who else got that?
nobody.
How many heel turns have there been in wrestling? In the history of wrestling, how many good guys have turned bad?
Oh, there's been a plethora of good guys that turn bad.
Only one got the trash in the ring treatment
Right.
because I'm telling you, it was that everybody was affected.
Mm-hmm.
They can say no, no bullshit.
When
You were affected, deeply affected by that.
right, whenever he said that the trash represents the fans, that really struck hard. And I was 10 years old at the time, So and yeah,
My grandma, mother was like 63. She was an old girl, but she still loved the wrestling. And when that happened, I thought she was going to break her television. Brand new television. This woman never screamed, never, every once in a while, again, when I would meet my sisters were kids, we get a little out of control. She break out la chancla on us, her flip flop. And, but that was the only thing we ever saw her throw.
oh
And
wow,
she almost ripped that TV down off the wall. It's an old woman.
yeah, mm.
People don't realize just how deeply they were affected by that, but they were.
Yeah. Um, I know. I said a little bit ago, where Hulkamania really rose to prominence was over up at the AWA, and there's been some debate, but I kind of wonder had would AWA have survived had Hogan not left?
You said you were 10 years old when he turned.
Yes, sir. That was summer of '96. I was 10.
When did you? Hey, for all you fans out there, you little ones, plug your ears. You don't need to hear this. Mom and dads, you're listening with the kids, plug their ears. They don't need to hear this part. How old were you when you found out there was no Santa
Um, oh Lord, um, around that same time actually.
Claus?
Yeah.
Which one hit you harder?
Oh gosh,
Hogan.
the Hogan one most definitely. Yeah,
Yes.
the Santa Claus
See,
thing.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. People don't realize how deeply that affected most of us. And most of us haven't felt that same feeling until September 11th.
Yeah. Mm,
That's true.
yeah. Jeez.
And
It's
you think about it, it's true.
it's hard to believe that what you just mentioned, September 11th. It's crazy to think it's been almost 24 years since that happened.
I know.
I swear.
I was enlisted with the U.S. Army from 2000 from 1999 until 2003.
Thank you for your service.
It was my honor. This country has been so good to me and my family. For me not to, and I just like everybody else, there were so many people that signed up to go serve that wasn't thinking about that the day before.
Mm-mm.
I was already in when it happened. And that's how deeply people were affected. They're so affected by this one incident that they're willing to lay their lives down on the line That was the farthest thing from their mind when they laid down to go to bed the night before.
I was I was a sophomore in high school when that happened, and I was at a Christian school. And when we found out, all classes stopped, and we had like a
Yes,
special, special prayer, like out couple hours worth of just gathering together and praying and stuff like that.
yes. College professors, professional football players left what they were doing and go sign up. That's deep. Because that's personal. And a lot of us, that was the second time we experienced that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why still today, there's so many proud Americans, and I consider myself a very proud American. I represent my Mexican heritage, yes, but I am a very proud American. It was my honor to go serve, to do my part, to do what I do, and that's why a lot of people they thought I went back to Mexico during that time, and I was in Afghanistan. This Mexican was in Afghanistan,
Mm,
and I come back, and the people they remember, but they did not know where I had gone,
I got
what
you.
I was doing. But that's what I did, and it was my honor to go to serve, to do that, to go fight, because this country has been so good to me and so good to my family, and I love it here. I love it here, and I love all of you, and but that was that. It was that deep connection with people on that emotional level to get them to go and go into the military, and you know that's when it is real. And to so many people, that Hogan turn, it was just as real.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
You're gonna have a different outlook on this from here forward.
see, see, senor.
No, but
Um,
nobody thinks about it like that.
no,
They really don't.
no, no, and to be honest
But you
with you,
you you sit here, you tell me, you was more heartbroken by Hogan turning his back on his fans than you was when you found out that Santa Claus was no real.
yes,
Most kids today would break down
mm-hmm.
when they find out about the Santa Claus.
Right.
But what do you think most of these kids are going to feel about John Cena?
Wow, that's a good one. Um, because I'm on my previous episode I had with Freddie Banks. He's a big Cena fan, and Freddie, hope you're listening to this, but definitely no offense. Yeah, but I'm not a big Cena fan,
I
but I would.
love that kid, by the way. That kid reminds me of me when I was a little older than his age. He's
He
amazing.
he is amazing, athletic, and respectful. Very respectful, which respect's kind of a heart, but it's kind of a dying thing nowadays. But very respectful and very athletic and incredible worker. But I would say the kids would feel today, that are fans of Cena would feel the exact same. The only difference is garbage ain't being thrown into the ring and all that other stuff. Like with what happened with Hogan.
And so many people expected it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody expected
Mm. Yeah.
Hogan. Everybody, see, today you got the internet. Okay, people talk, people put out their ideas. We didn't have that back then. The only thing you knew, and no DVRs, no VCRs, well, maybe, no DVDs. You couldn't pause it, go back and play it. But so you were living right there in that moment as it was happening.
Very true.
And nobody to share your emotions with, nobody to talk to, except for your family right there.
Right.
Everybody today, they have everybody. You get online, you talk to the whole world. You know, you can work your shit out.
Hmm.
I'm telling you, this Hogan heel turn run is deeper than a lot of people think. That's why John Cena's heel turn is not as good.
Right. I don't think there'll ever be a heel turn that'll ever be replicated like that ever.
Never.
Um, I know they did that with which they tried to do it with Stone Cold again at the end of WrestleMania 17 when he aligned with McMahon. Um, then they tried turning Undertaker heel back during his biker days.
So so you found out Santa was not real.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 years later, somebody come to you and say Santa's not real. No shit, right?
Right.
There was never a heel turn like Hogan's.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you said it yourself. Thousands of wrestlers have made heel turns since then.
Never been replicated.
So everybody is building up like an immunity. They expect it. Look, it's seen as a good boy. You know, he was a good boy. He fought all the bad guys, and he was a good guy his whole career.
Yeah.
Everybody expected it. That's what Hogan did.
Mm-hmm. Um,
But look what they did with Brett.
that one did surprise
Brett
me.
was a heel. He stayed a heel. Even when he was champion, he was heel. But no, the fans decided they were going to get behind him.
Mm.
He never changed who he worked, how he worked. The fans just accepted him and took him underneath his wing. Same thing today. Everybody, when Jacob Fatu come to WWE, everybody, oh, we gotta hate him. We gotta hate him. We gotta hate him. He's with Solo Sokoa. He's a bad guy. We gotta hate him. But then watch the fans. They love him.
Yep.
The fans love the man. Don't matter who you put him up against. They love the man for what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
So the fans they get behind him.
Yeah.
The people writing for the show, they see that. They can't change that. All they can change is what's on their paper.
Right.
So they have to give the consumer the product they want, right?
Yes.
That's what they do. They didn't change him. So we have to change who we fight. Instead of putting him up there with Solo, now we make him fight Solo.
Yes.
And the fans love it. It
Yep.
used to be, it used to be the show created who you like, who you don't like. You just be I don't know how there was people that really loved the good guys, really hated the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way they were. Ric Flair was a excellent worker, best in the business. The fans always hate him,
Mm-hmm.
even today, because he was the bad guy.
Right.
Now the fans they tell who they love.
Right.
There's no baby face, there's no heel no more. The fans tell you who they love. You come out there, okay, you come out there and be dirty, you wrestle dirty, you cheat. Gunther don't do that. He's tough. He fight. But it's what comes out of his mouth. The people don't like. But the people like him to go beat up Goldberg.
Right.
Why?
My personal opinion,
They tired of the
they
Goldberg.
tired of the Goldberg.
He's retired. Stay retired. I say that.
Yeah.
I should stay retired. But that's all. They're done. The fans is done with him. Nobody's Goldberg no more.
No, no. And to be quite honest with you, when he came back in end of 2016, when he had that like minute and a half match with Brock at the 2016 Survivor Series, I was actually pumped for it just because I remembered that their last match that they had 12 years earlier at WrestleMania 20, which I'm sure you remember it, and I'm sure other fans that are our age that would know. And for the younger fans, go to Peacock, look up WrestleMania 20. It's like halfway on the event, and at Madison Square Garden, practically rioted and took over that match. But I will say this, when he came back for that one match, I was glad. But then when they kept bringing him back more, I was like,
I'm getting burnt out already.
yeah,
Yeah, 5 matches. I've had enough.
right. And don't get me wrong, I would have loved to have seen Warrior come back, but let's just be real. I mean, after especially with he was getting up there in years. He but whenever he stepped away, he stepped away. Now he actually did have one match in '08, I think in Spain with Orlando Jordan, but that was it. He was done after that. Um, but yeah, because the fans would have done the same thing about him. They would have gotten tired of the Warrior at that point.
You want to do something good for the fans? They like
Mm-hmm.
put the boy in
Yep.
instead of the old man. Put the boy in.
Yep.
You got time to coach him up. You got time to train him up. But nah, Bill needs to go back to fishing.
I agree. Um.
It's funny we bring him up. I was watching the other night on the YouTube Goldberg and La Parca.
Yep.
Great, great match. Excellent psychology, and it was typical Goldberg. And La Parca put his ass over good.
Yes, he did.
Goes out there. Goldberg said, "Come on with the chair." Bam! Parker slams that chair down on his head, and he stands there growling at La Parca. La Parca don't know what to do. La Parca says, "Shit, okay." I turn around, La Cucaracha, little dance, and then bam, spear, spear. I don't. You should not be dancing with the chair, amigo. And you turn around, bam, spear,
Yep.
picks him up,
Mm-hmm.
jackhammer driver.
Yep.
It's over. Great match though. The psychology for that match was perfect. Parker was such a great worker, and he did
Yes.
such a good job with the fans, like him or hate him. There's a lot of fans when he come out with the chair and he attacked Disco Inferno. The fans hate him. They
Right.
like that young Disco. But as soon as you get out there with Bill, bam, 10-second match over, but the fans love it.
They did, and it's funny you mentioned Disco Inferno, and I've said this on other episodes. My grandmother, uh, Mimi, she was on my dad's side. She lived in Princeton, and God rest her soul. I would watch, I think it was WCW Saturday Night, and on a TBS, and he was just about on almost every episode, but when he was, she hated him. She just could not stand him. And
She
I,
don't know burn, baby, burn.
oh no, she didn't burn baby burn. She decided to tell him he was number one by flipping off the TV screen every time he
Oh,
made an appearance. Oh yes, yes, she could not stand Disco Inferno.
and that's why we do this for the fans, man. It's the
Absolutely.
fans. It's the fans. It doesn't matter to me anymore if I go work in front of 20 people or 20,000 people. It's the fans. It's the fans. It's the best. And that's why I love these fans here in Nebo. Right here in little Nebo, Kentucky, in the old school. And I love those fans because those fans are so amazing. They give you so much energy when you come out there, and the fans are screaming, they're going nuts, and throwing everything. It's just, it's awesome. It's awesome feeling it to feed off of that. It keeps you young. It does. It's amazing.
Most definitely. I mean, just sitting amongst the crowd and stuff, and just seeing the energy that they bring and all that. I mean, it's incredible, and I can't wait for the day that Grizzly can make an appearance, and who knows, maybe he'll get in the ring with Slugger Jackson and shut him up, once and for all.
You don't like that guy neither.
I can't stand him.
No.
No, no, he's a good for nothing parents.
I don't know a whole lot about the guy. Honestly, I don't like his politics, and I I think that he I think he's reaching too far. You know, they want they just don't want to win. They don't they're not going if they just wanted to win, why don't they focus their efforts on the championship belts? Because it's the championship belts that dictate the company. You know, they're not after that. They're reaching too far. They want control of the company.
Can you imagine what it would be like if that asshole and his crew wind up getting control of that company?
That's going to be chaos, amigo. Why you think me, the Koi, JC, Mars? Why you think we're fighting that?
Because you don't want them to take over, and you're doing this for the fans.
Because the fans don't want them taken
Yeah,
over. That's why. They're
yeah,
gonna have to if they take over, they're still gonna have to have someone to fight.
this is true.
If they want to make the match, they want to control the locker room, the money. They want to control the promotion of the business. That's work. They gotta go out there and hang those flyers, and they gotta make that. They gotta sell the company.
If you remember when Slugger Jackson was revealed as the leader of the Nightmares of Na, he came out with the wearing the Jason mask and that god awful looking jacket.
But that wasn't the scary part.
It was when he unmasked,
He
right?
took it off.
Oh yeah, me. Great minds
There
think
was a
alike.
little old lady in the third row passed out.
Oh yeah, he definitely should have left that mask on because that face of his could scare small children and cause old ladies to faint and stuff. But if you remember, he said, he tried to buy the company, but management wouldn't sell, and
Don't
he
make your own company, dude.
well, I don't. This guy, he's not all right in the head, but he said, and if I remember correctly, that he was going to burn it to the ground.
Why you want to fight for something? Why you offer to buy something and tear it down? You want
Uh,
to build it up. You want to make it bigger. You want to make it better.
yeah.
That's stupid.
Well, from what I gather, his money came from fortune, but not from actually being a businessman. So,
That's not good business. You
no,
shouldn't buy something just to tear something down.
right.
You buy something to build it up, to make it better, not make it worse. So if you want worse, why don't you just go somewhere else or go create worse? Make your own worse wrestling association or something. It doesn't have to be Gnaw.
Right.
Gnaw is awesome, man.
No, is awesome.
That's gonna be my new thing. I'm gonna make a new shirt. That's awesome. They want to be Gnaw Nightmare or Nightmare Gnaw. I'm gonna make awesome.
I like that.
El Loco Diablo es el capitán de los awesome
That's right.
luchadores locos.
That's right. That's right. Um, yeah, I really hope you guys get your hands on that guy and just tear him up.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. If I get a chance, because I'm gonna be in there with some fighters. Look across. They got DD Jinx, one of the best technical wrestlers in the business.
Mm,
They got uh they got so many. They got Alexander Cage. He's a dirty son of a gun. He's a fighter,
yeah.
you know, and a former champion.
Yes.
And then there's Max Zero. I don't know if you've seen this guy, but this guy can move. He's a 400 pounds, but he can move.
Hmm.
like a cruiserweight,
Yeah.
powerful. It's hard to stop a guy like that.
Yeah.
Then who else? The, the, I, the
Nick.
slugger guy, but the slugger, he run his mouth. I don't know if he can actually wrestle in the ring, but he can wrestle with his lips. But
And,
he,
and he can cheap shot. That's all we've seen him do is cheap shot. But Nick Willis is the other one.
oh my caramba, Nick Willis. I fought with Nick Willis. Nick Willis is an excellent fighter.
Hmm.
He is strong. He's small guy, but he hits like a donkey. I call him the Nick the Burrow. He kicks. He's strong. He hits like a donkey. He's fast, and you can beat the guy and beat the guy and beat the guy, and he don't know how to stay down. He don't stay down. He just keeps coming. He's coming left, right. You kick him, you punch him, everything. He keeps coming. He's like a little cucaracha.
Yes, absolutely.
They all tough. Make no mistake. But what are they fighting for? They're not friends. They don't hang out. They don't call each other. They don't barbecue. Invite me over to uh, Mama Flash's barbecue. They're not friends. They're no amigos. They in there for the money.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you take the money away, everything will fall apart.
And then if they don't if they don't get control, their whole mission is shot.
They're no control. They're not gonna gain nothing because me, Mars, JC, Coy Daniels, we're gonna stop them. We're gonna stop them once and for all tomorrow night in the steel cage. It's not my first time in a steel cage. I know what can happen in a steel cage. With weapons, very dangerous. Mucho peligroso, amigo. But I'm a fighter, and I'm fighting for the fans. JC is a fighter, and he's fighting for all those fans. Goy is a fighter. He's a big fighter. He's a boy's a tank. He's fighting for the fans. And Mars, my secret weapon. Mars is fighting for the fans. I know because I love that guy. I love Mars. He reminds me of me when I was younger. He's a great kid. He's fast. He's energetic. And he's going to be fighting for those fans. And with all of those fans screaming, shouting behind us, we can't lose. And that's why the nightmare going to go away. You wake up the morning, beautiful sunshine, the birds singing outside the window. It was all just a bad dream.
Oh, I cannot wait for y'all. I cannot wait for y'all to put an end to them once and for all. Cause God, I'm so tired of hearing Slugger Jackson talk on the mic. I'm sick of seeing the dirty, cheap shot bullshit tactics that they pull. Yeah, I'm fed up with them, and that that asshole hounds me to come on this podcast,
How much he charge?
buddy.
Or is he paying you?
Buddy, I don't make a dime off of this,
Well,
man.
he's the money man for the whole thing, so you should just tell him
Oh no, he wants me to pay him.
he needs to donate to your GoFundMe you talked about earlier
I agree.
because it's a beautiful thing that Ben is doing. Ben is a very good friend of mine. We've known each other for many years, and it's a beautiful thing that he's doing. I have never seen a guy his age come out there with those kids all day, work with those kids, train with those kids, teaching those kids, and he loves those kids. He's tough, yeah, because he has to be. I go down, I watch sometime, and he's doing an amazing job with those kids. And when I hear him talk to them, I know he loved them. He really loved them because he tells them, and everybody need to hear this. I need to hear this too. He tells those kids, I'm not training you to beat so and so, or to beat so and so, or to win this, or you're gonna uh, go to the WWE someday. He's not filling their head with that. He tells those kids, the only person you have to worry about beating in this life is the man in the mirror. Brother, that is deep. He's
Yeah.
teaching those kids life lessons, not lessons just about wrestling. He's teaching those kids life lessons. Why he know that? Because he's an older guy and he's known that and he's fought his own demons.
Yes.
And he knows no matter what he do, nobody define your destiny, your future, except for you. Only person you have to worry about. So he tells those kids, tell me he don't love them. That's something you hear from your padre, your grandfather.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. My father, the only time my father ever told me that he loved me was when he was drunk, and that was about 5 years ago. But my grandfather, my papa, only papa I ever had, he served in the military as well. He served during Korea,
Hoorah!
and but he always made sure he always called him and Mama called me Andy, but he'd always told me he loved me, told me he was proud of me no matter what. So that always meant a lot.
Yeah, and that's how Ben feels about those kids. Now they're not all kids, but he calls them their kids. They're some young, some almost as old as he is, but they get he gets out there.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. This guy he don't stop. He's just out there.
Nope.
And I know he's old. He's hurting. He's got arthritis, and, bone spurs and everything. But he still gets out there with these kids every weekend. And I know that he loves them and he's going to do good. So anything that this guy is doing to for those kids, I know it's a good thing. So you guys support that. It doesn't matter how much. Just every anything you can. $2, $5, 14 pesos, and a jalapeno. It doesn't matter. Send it on down to that GoFundMe because Ben is an excellent trainer. He's doing so many wonderful things with those kids, and I can't wait to see some of those kids in action, amigo. Those kids are going to be fire.
I agree. I agree. And I've known Ben for 12 years, and um, it wasn't until last year I found out, you know,
He's a
that
deep guy.
yeah, very deep. But in his defense, me and him had lost contact for a good number of years because I think the last time before we went that several year span without any contact, I was still married to my first wife that he knew, and we had all done some acting and stuff and all that together. That's how I met him. And a few years after that, me and my
He
first
was
wife
an
split.
actor.
See,
Wow.
see, me and him, we were called the twins.
I
Uh,
can see that.
the irony is I was clean shaven, but I was bald, and he was bald, but he had the facial hair and stuff. And when I first met him, we were on set, and he just kind of kept sizing me up. I'm like, who the parents? I'm sorry, who the fuck is this guy? Just sizing me up and stuff because I was working law enforcement and I was in a lot better shape. Well, I'm still in pretty decent shape now, but I felt like I was in my best shape when I was in law enforcement long time ago. And but now, me and Ben, when we started talking, we just clicked, and he became like a brother to me. And then we wound up reuniting at a NAL show back in October of this past year, and we got to kind of catch up a little bit, and then got to meet his son Trevor, and you know, great kid. I mean, he's a grown man, but to me, he's a kid because I'm almost 40. But I've got I not only reunited with a brother, but I gained a brother as well. And that was really awesome. And
You know who did that?
JC Flash did.
It's your little old buddy Hulk Hogan. I'm telling you, because Ben and I talked. We shared the same story. You get up Saturday morning. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan got him into the wrestling. Yeah, it was encompassing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That man touched so many lives in the business and out of the business. Now, like I said, he, what he did, his personal life, and later on in the company, trying to maintain his position in the company. Maybe he got sideways on some of those ordeals, but the character is what we all fell in love with, and that's what brought us all in. It's
I,
hard to argue.
it's very hard to argue. That's why I had to sigh there, folks. But yeah, th-
Nobody else, not because it was the territories.
yeah.
You didn't the territory. Not all the territories got national broadcasting. No,
No, they sure didn't. The only other than WWF at the time, I mean, I guess we could throw AWA in there because they were kind of all over the place too.
NWA, Mid South, AWA, then WCW, WWF. But when the territories got bought up, all the best workers from those territories, well, not all of them, but most of the best workers from those territories, now they're getting broadcast not all over the country, all over the world.
Right.
People overseas are seeing this for the first time. That's the smart thing about Vince, the businessman. His vision, he had the vision, and he saw his vision to fruition. But he he went after it differently. He bought them up. He bought up the promotions. He bought up the territories. Then he starts running shows in those territories. The Houston, the Superdome, the Houston show that they used to run, 2,000, 2,500 people. And when Vince took his show back in there, 15,000,
Mm-hmm.
20,000, couldn't run in the little show anymore in the little arena.
No.
When he took the product back, he had to get the big arenas because people were starving. The people were starving for the entertainment. Just look, like look, after the pandemic, when everything shut down, people were starving for entertainment. Over in Muhlenberg County, they have an agriculture center. They had a
Right.
rodeo.
Yeah.
That was the first live event in our area after the pandemic that people could go to. Sold out.
Right.
Sold out at a rodeo? No. There's always empty seats at rodeos. You know this.
Yes.
You turn on the PBR on TV, there's empty seats.
Right.
The Ag Center sold out. And the traffic, still people trying to get in there, was from the Ag Center all the way to the stoplight by the Dairy Queen.
Okay. Yeah.
People still trying to get in. And it was sold out. The building was packed because the people were starving for the entertainment.
Right. Um, just out of curiosity, you were in this area during the pandemic and stuff.
See,
Okay.
see,
I
this
was.
is my little farm here.
I got you. I when the shutdown happened, I was living in Caldwell, just next door, and gosh, I was living in an apartment with my now, well, she's my now soon to be second ex-wife, but we had just gotten married, but we'd been living in that apartment for a while, and I was going crazy because I used to bowl in a league back when the Princeton Bowling Alley was still open. Movie theater had closed again, and this was for the final time. Um, there really just wasn't much to do, and you can only play so much Xbox or PlayStation or whatever gaming system that you like, and you can only stay in so much, and it was, gosh, it was a nightmare.
It was. It was terrible for so many people, and so many people were just starving, starving for that attention, starving for
Hmm.
the entertainment, and you know, the Roman rulers, they knew this. That's why they created the gladiator fights,
Right.
because the population, the people, if you don't feed them, you don't entertain them, they'll rise against you. We've seen it in other countries. And the American people, everybody here, everybody all over the world was starving for that entertainment.
Yeah.
Now they can pack out a WrestleMania, not just for one night, for two,
Right.
because there's that many people that want to be entertained, that want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And that's not cheap. You can get into WrestleMania for a seat for under $1,000. And most of those big arenas, what are they hold 50, 65, 75,000 people?
Give or take.
How
Yeah.
much money is that?
That's a lot of dinero.
That's mucho dinero. See? So his vision for what he wanted to do, perfect. Now what do you do in his free time, his business? That's his business,
Right.
man. What happens in Tijuana stays in Tijuana,
See.
But as far as the business, he's very smart about the business. And that's where all of that influence from that era come from. And now today is, how do you shock the people? How do you, you know, how do you how do you shock the people with, they got to come up with something,
Right.
because whatever the standard is today, tomorrow has to be better,
Yeah.
or they don't come back.
I'm glad you said that. And those that have listened and those that I've spoken with before know I like to watch Dark Side of the Ring. And season three was about it was an episode about FMW, which I have a episode out on that. It was just a solo episode, but there was one thing that was mentioned by Atsushi Onita, the founder of FMW, which pretty much they did death matches over there, and he always said he was always thinking of how could he surpass the previous death match that he had.
Right?
Yeah. So I was just tagging that coattailing along with
Yeah.
what you had said.
And
So
that's the truth. That's the truth. How do you improve on something that was perfect today?
right,
You can't just make it perfect tomorrow.
right.
You got to be better than that.
Hmm. Maybe trial and error. Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe. Um,
But that's the hardest thing about this business. You go out there, you wrestle the show, you fight the show, you give them 100%, you give them everything you got. How do you keep something for later?
hmm. The only way you could really keep something for later is if you're really building towards something. Like whether it's a storyline or
You're
a
holding
match.
back
Yeah,
from the get go, so you're not giving it your all.
yeah. That's a very good point.
And that's something a lot of the fans here, and that's why I love these fans, is because we're a small business. You don't see us podcast. You don't see us. Now we got the YouTube channel now,
Hmm.
but um, we're not being broadcast live. We're not streaming live, um, and I think we should. I told JC this. I said, JC, you got a good thing here, man. You got to get this out there to the people, because the people, they love that. And you know, get the YouTube channel, get the stream going. I think it would be a great idea for them to live stream the Null show, because That's the best show. Those guys, they go out there and they crank it up and they tear it down, and then come back in the next month and boom, hit you with more surprises, things that you didn't see coming, and a better show.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing what is going on there and all, and it's getting better and better.
Yeah.
And what happens next? And that's why these fans are so awesome. And that's why they're so loud, because they've been there last month. They came the month before, and they were loud then, and they're loud the next time, and they're screaming because we are giving them what they want.
Exactly.
So how does Slugger Jackson think he can come in and destroy something that is so good?
I really don't know.
For what benefit?
I don't know. Maybe pride.
The fans aren't going to benefit.
No.
The wrestlers, they're not going to benefit. I bet Slugger don't even benefit. I don't. Like what I'm saying. I don't understand this guy. Something is wrong in his cabeza. Something is wrong with this guy. I don't understand him. He was dropped too many times on his head when he was a baby. I don't know, but
Must have.
mucho idioso. Okay, idiota. He's an idiot. So I don't know.
I don't know either. But I got to say, just like I'll say his name again. I know it's a little bit of a touchy subject, but like Justin Stiles said, as much as shit he likes to talk, he likes to talk a lot of shit for somebody who gets his ass beat a lot. You mentioned about the big boy, um, Max Zero.
Max Zero.
When honestly, I about shit my pants when I saw Slugger get avalanched in the corner. I was really hoping that was going to put the big kibosh on this guy and get him the hell out of this business
I
and
thought
gone.
he fractured ribs.
If he had fractured ribs, he didn't tell anybody. Probably not even his own little quote unquote buddies.
Really. He sure was holding them hard.
Well, he was. He was.
That big guy should have took it. It should have been the end of that guy. So he's tough. We know already, right?
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, let me hit you with 400 pounds full blast. Tell me how you feel about it, right?
right.
So he's got to be tough.
My health insurance at my new shoot job hasn't kicked in yet, so we got to
Yeah,
wait
we
a
got to
little.
wait on that
We
one.
got to wait just a little bit because I don't
I'm
need.
right. I'm not paying that hospital bill, but that's the truth. So you got to look at it like that. You got to be smart. You always got to be thinking when you're in the ring and when you're out of the ring. You see a guy get crushed by 400 pounds. Don't underestimate that guy.
Yeah,
So I, so I'm not 400 pounds, but I got to hit, if I'm gonna south of the border on him, I got to hit him hard with something,
put his ass through the ring.
right? From the top of the cage, maybe.
I don't know, man. Well, I mean, yeah. Well, you know
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
Fucking go for it, man.
yeah.
Fucking do it, man. Either that or have Coy Daniels choke slam him from the top of the cage or
Oh
something, and then hit.
man, I
And
tell you that Coy is an impressive individual.
he is,
He is.
he
He's
is.
big. He's tough. He's fast. He's impressive.
Yeah, and I've had the pleasure of having him on Grizzly's Cave via phone a couple of times and stuff, and yeah, just impressive individual. I tell
Massive
you,
guy. Good,
yes,
great guy. Good heart. But he's not afraid to. He's not afraid to get down and dirty either.
right. And I mean, I'm not a small guy, but I'm about 225, 230, and Coy Daniels, he dwarfs me. I
Right.
mean, he makes me
Me
look like a
too.
small child. So
you know, I was standing in the dressing room with him at the last show, and I was like, God dang, this is a big dude. And the way he moves, he's fast. So
yes,
not like a gazelle, but still fast. Not cheetah speed fast, more like puma speed. Little puma. You know, I think he's scared if he gets all that weight going. It's kind of going to be really hard to stop, but it's okay. You get Slugger Jackson in the corner tomorrow night, Coy. You just hit him as hard as you can.
Be like, and I hope Marvel doesn't sue me for this, but be like the unstoppable Juggernaut. So,
Right, right. You hit him. You hit him hard.
um, I mentioned about Onita, and one thing I learned about him, but I'd also learned about other Japanese wrestlers, is that they do, like, I guess you would call it an apprenticeship. Where they go overseas. I know some go to Mexico, some go to
Yes.
Canada or the States or whatever. What I was going to ask you is, did you happen to come across anybody from, Japan or another country that was doing like an apprenticeship or I guess to kind of hone their craft or whatnot?
Not really, because I was already a lot older, um, when we left Mexico and came to Chicago. So I wasn't yet training in Mexico. Um, Most of my training was done, you know, here in the States. So I did go back several years later, and I went down to the old dojos and I work out with the guys, and I had met a couple of guys that were from Japan. So they were working on a triplet tour, and that's what we call AAA down in Mexico. It's triple A. It's not triple A. It's triple A. And they were working with triple A, but they were just working out at the dojos there locally. Um, and so yeah, it was going on. I had an opportunity one time. I had a scout. We were talking. We had it all worked out, but then something happened, and I had higher commitment, so I could not make that commitment. I could not make that journey. So I just stay where I am, and I love it. I love it here, but it was going on. So I never got to Japan to see if there was any luchadors in Japan, but it was going on. Ultimo Dragon was one.
Oh gosh, man, I got a chance to see him wrestle one time, but God, he's so incredible. But go ahead.
You know who he reminded me of?
Who's that?
He reminded me of young Ricky Steamboat,
Okay.
and I think it could be the Hawaiian, uh, Okinawan connection there. Um, the styles were very similar. Young Ricky, who was we know as a grappler, we don't think about Ultimo Dragon as being a luchador. He was more of a grappler, more of a strong style wrestler, as you would call it today. But he did do some of the high flying. He did do some of the Hurricane Rana, the flying leg scissors, but he was more grappler than he was high flyer. And that was a unique thing too back then, because most of the most of the guys who were wearing masks were either some jabron that was trying to put over a different gimmick, or he got banned from the company for X amount of days. I would never say nothing like that about the Midnight Rider or something, but the luchadors come onto the scene now. People have different concept when they see the mask. They see the mask, they think, oh, he's going to flip flop, fly all over the place, and a lot of them do. But so there's so many workers now in what we call American professional wrestling. You know that was a transition too, uh, from the introduction back during Malenko, the Juventud Guerrera, Eddie. But see, the Guerrero's been in this business for a long time. A lot of people forget about Hector and Hector and Chavo Senior and Gory
I was going to say Mondo, but
Mondo. Yeah, Hector and Mondo. Okay, Hector and Mondo were. I mean, you don't get no more Mexican. Okay, but they weren't luchadors. Like people think luchadors, high fly, flip flop. They were grapplers. They were strong style wrestlers. They were technical wrestlers. They knew a lot of the technical moves, but they're not luchadors like we think luchadors today.
There was one Japanese wrestler, and let's see, he I believe he went to Mexico. I don't remember. This would have been the early '90s, but Hayabusa, which I spoke about him on the FMW um, episode that I did when I first started Grizzly's Cave, and he did a lot of he had strong style. He had the grappling, but he also had the what as you said, people think with the luchador style of the high flying, or as you say, the flip
Right.
flop or whatever. But gosh, this guy was incredible.
See.
Oh my God, he was incredible, and it's a shame. It's a shame we lost him so early. I think he passed away about 9 years ago. He had a brain aneurysm, but 15 years prior to that, he had that career-ending injury. I won't mention the move that he tried, folks, because I don't want y'all worrying. Um, but he attempted to move and slipped and spiked himself, and
Hmm.
unfortunately paralyzed him and stuff. And his career was done.
And a lot of people don't realize just how dangerous this business really is.
Yes,
It's true. Um, Not just the moves, the body takes so much of a beating. You know, putting in the reps at the gym, doing the cardio to stay in shape. Just to be able to compete. And but then getting in the ring and actual competing, you can go out there have a good match and nothing mess up and still walk out of there with strained ligament or torn muscle or dislocation, you know, and it's it's real danger that people need to be aware of. And, you know, that's all this is going to happen tomorrow night in a steel cage. It's dangerous enough, but you're going to introduce, steel cage is danger, table is danger, ladder is danger, chair is danger, anything. People can be seriously hurt,
and Slugger, if you're hearing this, baseball bats as well.
right? See, the baseball bat. So, we're going to have to be careful, but the nightmare is almost over. The night we're going, everybody is going to be waking up to a bright, sunshiny morning because the nightmare is almost over. By the time we get done with them tomorrow night, there'll be no more nightmare. Just bad dream.
Buddy, I'm waiting for this bad dream to be over with. I'll tell you. Um, gosh, there was something I was going to ask you. Give me just a second here. Um,
Blue. My favorite color is blue.
that's one of my favorite colors, but black is actually my favorite. Black, blue, and green are my three.
Everybody think just because of the boots, the mask, it would be gold, but
Sure.
my favorite color is actually blue.
Well, that's good to know for future reference. Um, did you talk about just the training and stuff, just the cardio and the workouts and everything. Make sure your body's in shape. Well, I've mentioned on other podcasts that I've been training and stuff. Obviously, I haven't been in the show. I've just been sitting amongst the fans and all that. But the last training session I went to was right before the June show, and I had altered my workout regimen and stuff and all that, and I felt like it helped me, cardio wise and stuff. But I still felt like I got hit by a freaking truck,
And
for
that's
a couple
just
of days.
training,
Yeah,
you know.
and that's just training.
That's part of the business. That's part of
Yeah.
it. It's a rough environment, just training to do what we do, and then actually going in the ring and fighting these guys is very rough on the body. Um, Good or bad,
Yeah.
win, lose or draw,
Hmm.
the body takes a beating. I'm not. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm very excited about tomorrow. I tell you why. is my second cage match. The very first cage match I was ever in. I defeated Isaiah Thomas, Coliseum Championship Wrestling, became Cruiserweight Champion. So the cage is very familiar to me. So it's special. Now, tomorrow, back in the cage. You know what's belong in the cage?
Animals.
Wild, dangerous animals. So the nightmare need to think about that too. It's not just El Loco Diablo, JC Flash, Coy Daniels, Mars in the cage against the nightmare. The nightmares are going to be locked in the cage with us too. Ferocious, wild animals.
Y'all are going to have them trapped like rats.
See, and we're going to eat the rats.
There you go. That first cage match you had, I know you just I know you touched on it. Now I know other promotions have had different types of cages. Obviously, Naw has the steel cage. Um, was your first cage match in a similar cage,
Chain link.
chain link?
Steel reinforced chain
Tell me, can you tell us about
link.
that?
Not a good place for someone in a mask. I say that.
Really?
The steel cage is very dangerous. It's sharp. It's hard. And you get your head ran into it a few times, things start to come apart. So the
Hmm.
mask can take a beating.
Mm-hmm.
Your pantalones, your blouse can take a beating.
Oh,
Your
sheesh.
shirt,
Yeah.
not just your body. Anything can happen inside of a steel cage.
Was there?
The cage itself is a weapon.
Yeah. Was there bloodshed in that match?
See,
Mm. A lot. Like a. Oh, fuck.
I still bear the
Damn.
scars to this day.
Damn. Mm-mm-mm. How long ago was this match?
20 ish years ago.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Has any m- while preparing for this War Games match, any flashbacks to your first cage
Oh,
match ever run
absolutely.
through?
Absolutely. When, and I really did not really, I don't think that I really realized what the implications of going out there last month with my chair and helping JC and Coy and Mars. I really don't think that I fully considered the implications of my actions.
Hmm.
Those are mi amigos. Those are my friends. My friends needed help. I went to help. And in doing so, I get drawn into the war games. That's okay. Because El Loco Diablo is ready. No matter what. I don't care if it's tables. I don't care if it's ladders. I don't care if it's chairs or baseball bats. I don't care if it's cage. El Loco Diablo is always ready for a good fight. But one thing I learned from Justin Styles, and I learned from uh, Chad McCoy. There's some dirty sons of guns on the other side of the ring. And it's time El Loco Diablo got his hands dirty.
Poetic justice, I guess, as they would call it.
Glorified retribution.
There you go. And it's definitely going to be the Nightmare's Day of Reckoning. Come War Games, right?
Oh, they're gonna wake up with a whole new outlook on life. It's gonna be like a whole new world.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh man. Who um who would you say was your favorite wrestler? And it can be luchador or somebody from the American style.
Growing up or now?
Both.
Oh, okay. Uh, growing up, I would say my greatest, the one I look up to the most. I I guess I have to say it. It would be the Hulk Hogan. When I was a little niño, when I was just a little boy, it had to be Hulk Hogan. Then the Fantastics, the Fabulous Ones, the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express. I love the tag teams. As I get a little older today, my favorite wrestler today. Hmm, I haven't thought about that in a while. I like El Grande Americano.
Yes.
The man is one of the best luchadores in the world.
Absolutely.
He's got a phenomenal headbutt.
Mm-hmm.
He must have a head as hard as a hammer.
Oh yeah.
And he's a good technical wrestler. And he's
Yes.
strong.
He's very strong.
So I see. And I like that they renamed the Gulf after him too.
There you go.
It's the Gulf of El Grande Americano now.
See,
I love it.
same here. I did watch night one of WrestleMania. Didn't bother watching night two, but I did like Grande's match that he had with was it Ray Phoenix?
See?
I really liked that match.
He's a great worker.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Very talented
And
worker.
I saw that headbutt too, and
It's amazing.
it was amazing. Just like William Regal's punch, you know.
And the fans love him.
Absolutely.
The fans are so behind him. He hasn't been, he hasn't been mainstream for very long, but the fans are got it. They put their fingers up. They go, gracias. They love it.
Yes.
All the little boys and girls love it.
Well, and it's like when Brian Danielson, or at the time Daniel Bryan, when he started doing the whole yes thing and stuff, that wasn't supposed to be appreciated by the fans. And what was the biggest movement back in the early 2010s? The yes
Yes.
movement.
See,
So yeah, I mean you touched on it earlier. The fans really dictate what
they
they
do.
want, and whether at the time McMahon would give the fans what they wanted. Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't.
Even today. Even
Yep.
today. One episode is never the same as the next. You can tell there's different screenwriters, different people that are producing the show today. You can tell the difference. One show you watch, oh, that's amazing. The storylines and everything. Performance is great. The next show, what the hell was that?
I'll ask you this question because I have my, not trying to sound like an old school wrestling zealot, but I spoke with a mutual friend of mine and Ben's um, a long time ago. He was actually his name was James, and we would watch the pay per views or PLE. They didn't really call them PLEs then, but back when the network had first started, we'd watch it on. He either had a Roku or a Fire Stick or something, but I said to James, James, I said, don't you think that maybe they could go back to some of the old school ways of just not, instead of having a quote unquote creative team or writers, why not just go back to the old ways with the bookers, handful of bookers and do it that way?
because that beast that Vince created is bigger than one person. It's going to that's what we were talking about earlier. How do you make next month better than tomorrow? How do you make tomorrow better than last month? It takes more than one person. Now, JC has got a big, beautiful brain, and I love him for that. But JC can't do it all by himself.
No.
They can't do it all by them. They're entertaining millions, billions of people. If they want to stay where they are, they got to keep being better. And what they put out right now is pretty good. But it's better than before. I think if you go back to the old way, just one person, it becomes too much. Look at the lights, look at the sound, the production, everything goes into producing a good show.
Hmm.
It takes more than one person, and it'd be too much. I think it'd be way too much.
I never really looked at it from that standpoint. I'm sure you've heard or know, or well, let me backtrack. You probably know because you said you listen to my podcast. I'm a big Jim Cornette fan,
See,
and he's I would definitely say he's definitely old school, and I mean that in a good way. And he would talk about how he'd be in on meetings. He'd name off maybe a handful of names and stuff and all that. And I'm thinking, man, why don't they just go back to that? Because they were doing that even during the Monday Night Wars and stuff, you know. And it eventually
what
got.
happened? What happened during the Monday Night Wars?
Let's see here. So on the WCW side, you had the NWO. On the WWF side, you had the start of the Attitude Era because you had Steve Austin, you had the Montreal Screwjob, you had
Mm-hmm.
DX. Like I said, you had Rock and Austin.
Both companies started putting out the best product ever. Every show was better than the last show. They had to.
Yeah.
They really did. They had to. Now they're in competition with each other. I got to be better than you. It's one thing you got to show on one day of the week, but to run two shows on top of each other, now you're competing. You're competing.
Hmm.
Okay. Now you're in a fight. So if you're gonna win the fight, you got to throw your best moves, right?
Of course.
So what happened? The WWF, they still went with the old school. The one guy calling the shot. The WCW, they had to get creative. They started the creative teams because they were competing with a bigger enemy.
Yeah.
Vince was bigger than them.
Yeah. Yep.
He was a bit. He had a bigger roster, not the better roster, but he had the bigger roster. He had more money, so they started making the moves, and then the WCW actually put out the best product. They were putting out a better product than their bigger competitor.
83 weeks in a row.
See, the fans don't lie. The fans will never lie to you. You go out there, you have a good show, you have a good match, the fans will tell you. You go out there, you have a bad match, the fans will tell you that too.
Oh yeah.
You put out a good product on national television, the ratings from the fans, they tell you. And that's how they did that. And then after they buy the company, they found out why they were getting their ass kicked
Mm.
because they got teams with beautiful, big, brilliant minds. That's that's the only thing that stopped Vince.
Hmm.
So then he give up. He say, screw. He's better to buy than to continue this.
Right. There was there was a segment on SmackDown. This was January of '04. It was the SmackDown after the Royal Rumble that, and I'll say his name because I don't care. The one that Chris Benoit won, and he was a SmackDown guy, but he wound up showing up on Raw and he challenged Triple H, for the world title at WrestleMania. But on that episode of SmackDown, Vince McMahon came down and called out Paul Heyman because Paul Heyman was the GM of SmackDown at the time, and he was basically reprimanding Heyman for him being such a bad being such a bad GM that Benoit defected to Raw and challenged Triple H, and he's like, "What do you have to say for yourself?" And then Heyman said, "I say, screw Chris Benoit." He said, "That's when Hall and Nash left. Did you just cry about it? You said, screw Hall and Nash. I'll give somebody else a shot."
Right?
And then he said, when Almighty God Himself, Hulk Hogan, left for Ted Turner's WCW, did you just cry about it? You said, screw Hulk Hogan. I'll give somebody else a chance. When Bret Hart was leaving for WCW, did you just cry about it? Or did you crawl up in a corner and cry about it? You said, screw Bret Hart. And you did screw Bret Hart, didn't you? And then Vince said, yes, I did.
But who benefits the most from all this? The fans.
Fans. Yeah.
The fans. For 83 weeks in a row, the fans were finally getting the best both companies had to offer.
Very true.
That was Vince's biggest downfall. Iron sharpens iron. That's why I appreciate the deep conversations that I have with JC and some of the other guys in the back. Because you're there with your brothers. It's no different than being at war. You're there with your brothers. A good man, a good brother, will make you a better man. They will challenge you to be your best. And Vince lost that. He lost his competition. He bought the competition. And that's why the product went so bad. The storylines went to shit. Not taking anything away from the wrestlers. The wrestlers were good. They were talented workers. But the storylines go to shit. And then Vince starts producing characters like Stardust.
Yeah.
Who's the who's the Husky boy?
Husky Harris, you mean?
Yes, Husky Harris. And a lot of people don't know that was Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
And when they took Bray to Florida and turned him loose, look what that man became.
Oh, yeah.
Look what he's done. He's still influencing today.
That's another one we lost way, way too soon. Way too soon. And he was actually younger than me. Well, younger than both of us.
I think it was 36.
36, yeah.
And that's why so many things went wrong with the WWE. They have no one to compete with. They they lost their edge, and the product went to shit. And when he stepped down and Paul takes over, look at the difference.
Yeah.
Is a huge difference.
Yeah.
The fans are back into it.
Yeah.
The fans are packing out the arenas.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the fans,
Absolutely.
man. It's all about the fans. So you think we're gonna sit back and let Slugger Jackson and his little group of cronies come in here and destroy this thing for the fans we create? No.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Good.
Over my dead body.
Cannot wait to see y'all put an end to that group once and for all. And I'm really tired of that bastard bugging me to be on my podcast. So
Well, after tomorrow night, he's going to have to be looking for another job.
yeah.
Job. No job.
Inside joke, folks. Um, do you ever watch AEW?
Very, very rare occasion. Every once in a while, I turn it on. I got a pretty busy schedule.
Sure.
You know, I work, I farm my agave field, I have my family, and getting ready to have another addition to the family in a couple of short months. So things are really busy for me. And being an older guy, the timeless entity that a Loco Diablo is, I have to spend extra time in the gym and stay in shape and as best shape as I can. Am I the same guy I was 20 years ago? No. But I'm still tough. I still fight. And as long as I can, good Lord willing, like you like to say, I'm going to continue to fight. And I'm still going to be there. And so, no, I don't get a whole lot of time to sit down to watch everything on the television. But it's when I do, I like to go back and I like to watch the old stuff. And I like to
Mm,
watch the Triple I. And I like to watch the old Monday Night Nitros and things from that era because it was the best,
yeah.
you know, because of the products that they were putting out. Um, and they're getting better. Every once in a while, I get to watch the Raw or the SmackDown on the on the TV, and the product is better than it was then because they knew they had to do something
Right.
because they were losing, you know.
Yeah.
So it's but I once in a while I like to watch the NXT too, and but I I disagree with some of the things that they're doing, as the company, you know, is are they truly promoting their best product?
So I watched I watched AEW religiously from when they first started, which this was a not too long before the shutdown happened, and I even watched their shows they did even during the
Mm-hmm.
shutdown. I watched them regularly, and it was up until around the time CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, or I'm sorry, Bryan Danielson, came to the company, and then I got busy with life and other things too. But I kind of tune in from time to time. But you mentioned Timeless Entity, and I mentioned this on my last episode with Coy Daniels, and I mentioned about Timeless Tony Storm. And when I first heard the name, I'm like, okay, you got to be kidding me. But then I got to looking her up on YouTube, and I was like, well, first off, she's hot. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, she's freaking hot. Hopefully, Juice Robinson doesn't kick my ass for saying that because she's his wife and all that. But
He's
uh,
going to be at the Nebo Community Center in Nebo, Kentucky tomorrow night. Doors open at 6. Bell time is 7. So he's going to be there for a couple hours at least. You just come on down here and thump this man's head.
oh me, with all due respect, Mr. Robinson, you've got a gorgeous wife. Hold on to her for dear life. But anyways, um, I really like what she's done,
See? Yeah.
reinvented herself and stuff. And I mean, she's so over with the fans and the things that she says and does. It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, why couldn't she? Rumor had it is that that's what she was wanting to do in WWE, but they ixnayed that. Well, now that's just a rumor. But now she's getting to be herself and do what she wants to do,
Hmm.
and she's thriving, man.
And that's what you have to do. A lot of these wrestlers, they know what's best for them, their character. They know when their merchandise sales are down. Okay? They know when they're not getting that slot time. And they know they got to, because everyone changed. Everything changed day to day. You got to be better tomorrow than you are today. Okay? You got to be the best version of yourself today. But you got to be a better version tomorrow. So at some point, you feel, and just it's no different with a regular job. Okay, you stay in the same position at work. You just feel like, oh, it's no better. It's always the same. Okay, so why not make it better? Every time you go to work, make it a little better. That's how you have to be. So when you go to in this business, when you go all the time doing the same thing over and over, the fans they get burnt out. So you got to do something different, recreate. So you say, you know, not just the person, but the product, what you're putting out there. So Bray did that. Who had the ones that were truly great done the same thing,
Undertaker, that's,
recreated.
I mean, how many rendition? I mean, he had so many different renditions, but he kept his character fresh. With
You have to.
have to, especially with as long length of a span that he had. Before he retired.
Mm-hmm.
And then
JC Flash
yeah,
comes out with new gear.
yeah,
The fans love it. They embrace it. You got to keep changing.
right. And I'll throw Warrior out there. I mean, mainly just because you rarely ever saw him in the same get up, same paint. He always had some kind of different,
Color
yeah,
variation,
color variation. Exactly.
new
Yeah.
shirt,
Mm-hmm.
but overall, the gimmick was the same.
Yeah.
Tassels on the boots, tassels on the arms,
Right.
paint on the face, long hair. Come running, screaming like idioto down the aisle, shaking the ropes every time. Rick Rude was the same way. But then Rick Rude knew, I got to change, I got to do something. So he started airbrushing change on his tights.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. That was so awesome. But
And the fans look forward to that.
yes.
What was he going to have the next time?
Right.
Okay.
Um, do you have a favorite airbrush rendition that Rick Rude had?
When he put Jake's wife on the tights.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Yep. Airbrush the man's wife's face right on his crotch.
Oh my gosh.
How big an insult do you have to do to piss off a man who plays with snakes?
Exactly.
This it was not a smart thing he could do.
I really wish that they could have had an even longer run in WWF at the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, they had a good storyline, but it would have been nice to have seen it extended a little bit further on. But I know they were getting Jake ready for his run with Andre.
Right.
So but it would have been really nice to have seen him and Rude have a little bit lengthier of a rivalry and stuff. So because it
It
told a good
was
story.
it was always a good time. You knew you was gonna get your money's worth
Yeah,
anytime those two step into the ring.
and they were two really gifted wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. Very talented.
Um, I mean, hell, I watched which this wasn't. They weren't in a rivalry yet, but they had a WrestleMania 4 and that tournament for the crown the undisputed WWF champion that Macho Man wound up winning. Um, Roberts and Rude met in a first round match, went to a 15 time limit draw and stuff. Great match though. But then the storyline happened not too long after that, and it was a
Do you think Slugger Jackson and Nick Willis and Diddy Jinx are thinking about that?
no,
You think they're thinking about how they're going to make better, how they're going to, what they're going to do good for these fans? No,
no,
no. That's why we got to stop them.
yes,
You think Nick Willis is going to change his pants every time he comes out from here forward? No, it's same. He's going to be the same. And same thing with that Slugger guy.
where where the hell did he get that jacket?
The same place he get the mask. He's a team with Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people call him a Timu Jason. I've never quite understood the Jason mask. I mean, Jason
Leave it
Voorhees.
on.
Yeah,
Leave it on because Chinga, he's so ugly. You know, he's not a handsome man. Leave the mask on. Do something good for the fans. Leave the mask on. Don't take it off. Ay, chingado.
Oh, Dios mío. I told you to speak just a tad bit of Spanish. So I mentioned my papa. Um, he wasn't my biological grandfather, but he was the only grandfather that I had growing up. Him and my mama actually married about 5 years before I was born. They were actually high school sweethearts,
Oh,
and his name was Philip. Um, Sadly, he passed away the week of Thanksgiving back in 2023. Um, he was living up in Ohio, and he did remarry after my mama had passed away, and thank God for her because she took care of him, and if he was by himself, he wouldn't have lasted as long as he did. But yeah, they were high school sweethearts, him and my mama, and he liked to say this. He said, "Then Uncle Sam sent my ass to Korea, son," and that's when she met my biological grandfather, Guillermo Vasquez.
Guillermo.
See, he was full-blooded Puerto Rican,
Hey,
and we're talking Caldwell County. Okay,
much love to my Latino brothers out there in Puerto Rico.
he I never met the man. He passed away about 10 years before I was born, but they called him Bill. For those that don't know, Guillermo is William in English, but um, he was called Bill in Princeton, and they never called him Vasquez. It was Vasquez.
Vasquez.
Vasquez, and well,
Which is amazing because when I get meet by the fans and I talk to the fans at the show, more of the fans speak Spanish now than before, than 20 years ago. Here, here, when I come to Madisonville, there's hardly nobody. Maybe one that would come to the show and we could, talking. I love to talk in my native tongue, but there's at least three or four of the fans that have come up to me and speaking good Spanish.
I took
My Spanish has gotten worse over the years because I don't use it like I used to,
so
you know. But it's great every once in a while to hear the fans talking to me, and and it's special for them.
yeah,
It's like because they put in that time and that effort and energy to learn another language,
right.
and to come speak to me, it's awesome. It's awesome.
So when Papa went overseas, whenever he came back to the states, he tried reaching out to my mama, and apparently she told him that she had married, had a child, and for him not to call back. And he said, son, your mama pulled a Dear John on me," and I said, I didn't know. I didn't get the reference at the time, but then I found out later on in life.
Yeah.
Dear John, it was I left you for your brother Don. Does that sound about? Uh, I think it's about right. But I
Yeah.
said so instead it was Dear Phil, I left you for a Puerto Rican named Bill.
Oh wow. I gotta appreciate her poetic creativity there.
but but yeah, Guillermo passed in '75, I believe it was. He got into an auto accident on Highway 91 or Princeton Road. He was coming home from Hopkinsville. I won't go into all the other details, but then about 5 years later, they wound up crossing paths again and got dated, got married, and they were married for 35 years up until my mama
It's
passed.
amazing.
Life has a way of throwing curveballs,
Yes, it does.
but
Yes, it does.
it wound up working out. I mean, sadly, Papaw, he had married and divorced twice before him and Mamaw got back together, and he had three kids, and I actually got to reunite with them
So
whenever.
you come from a pretty good sized family.
Uh, I guess you could say that, sure. I did have an uncle. My mom had an older brother, and but sadly he passed away about 3 years before I was born. But Mamaw used to tell me that I reminded her of my uncle Mike. So, but anyways,
I'm just going to say something here to fill in the dead space while he spits in his cup. Uh, my condolences to your family.
I
I
appreciate
guess
that. I appreciate that. But everything worked out for a reason. But I know where they're at. They're not
it's
suffering.
funny how this world has a way of tearing people away from each other and bringing them together lately. You know,
Yeah,
um, is my wife. When I meet her, she was married. She had a different husband. So then we don't see each other for many years, and then all of a sudden, boom, she pops right back up in the So we get our chance. She's no longer married, so we start going out and date, and then now so we married and expecting a baby uh, in just a couple of months. So life is strange like that, and it puts you with where you're supposed to be.
Yes. And I forgot to say this earlier, but a whole lot of congratulations.
Oh, I am so happy. Thank you, amigo. It's such a wonderful experience to be where I am right now in this particular part of my life. It's just amazing. I I feel like the best version of me that I have ever been, and that's what I tell my wife. She's like, "Oh, I wish we'd have met a long time ago," and I was like, "Oh, I don't need, I'm not the same person I was back then.
Sure.
You know, I wouldn't even recognize that guy. You know, but to be the man that I am today, is the best person that I can be for not only myself but for my family too, and for my brothers, in the ring, you know, they're getting the best version of me. I'm not the guy that I was, so many years ago. You're not the same person you was so many years ago. You're a better person today because of the battle scars and the battles and everything that life threw at you up to this point. And you're such a more better person today. Same with me, and it's good for them that they get this version of me rather than that old version.
Right. Um, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned. We talk here. We are talking about life. I wouldn't have been in this. I wouldn't have got involved with Null, or come to the shows or anything like that if it hadn't been for Justin Sile. You know, and then meeting him eventually led me to meeting JC Flash
See, because you guys work together.
because we worked together.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and he knew I was a big fan of old school wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd sit on break. We'd sit outside in my Jeep or in his car during our breaks.
Mm-hmm.
He'd smoke, I'd dip, and we'd just talk wrestling.
Talk
Whether
wrestling,
whether it was old school or whether it was stuff with Null, whatever.
and he talks to JC. He's like, I meet this guy, and I think you need to meet him. And now look at the relationship that has grown like 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 the flowers on the cactus. People don't understand those blooms, those flowers on the cactus. They're full of seeds, but every time they fall off,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the new branch of the cactus grow.
Right.
That's the same.
Yeah.
You meet somebody, it's a blooming relationship, and that relationship will give way to other relationships. And that's what I love most about this business. That's what I love about JC. Uh, I still love Justin Styles. I think his heart is in the right place. I just think that maybe his he wants more than maybe he should. He really wanted that golden ticket
Mm-hmm.
to kick me the way he did,
Yeah.
and I understand because that's a blood fight right there
Well,
between him and Sid.
I know you weren't back with the company yet, but I was in attendance for the first golden ticket tournament that they had, and he lost his match to I believe it was Chad McCoy, so he didn't get to make it to the finals for the first CNS invitational, and but his brother, who eventually wound up winning the tournament as well as JC
Mm-hmm.
Flash, made it to the finals. So, but also there's that then he's got that ongoing rivalry with his brother. You
See,
know
that's what I was talking about, that blood feud.
that blood feud. Yeah.
And that's a deep, deep connected feud. That's
Hmm.
that's that's blood. That's family.
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to war with your family. So I don't feel I don't feel good for Sid.
Mm-mm.
I don't feel good. I get super kicked out of my shot at the championship belt, but I don't feel good for Sid because you know that's your brother, and he wants you pretty bad. He wants you really bad. When he gets his hands on you, you know, I feel sorry for you, amigo, because that's something you got to deal with yourself right there. You gotta handle that, and
Right.
that is one thing to hate another man.
Yeah. And hate's a
Hate is
strong
such
word.
a strong word. It's one thing to hate someone so much, but to hate your brother that much, that's a whole different kind of hate.
I've got a younger brother that's 26, and we're complete polar opposites. But I never could hate that man. You know, never could hate him. We disagreed on a lot. Hell, we went 3 years without speaking to each other, but we eventually reconciled. We came back around. I mean, we're not close, um, but
But you guys never fight
no,
with fists
no,
in the ring.
no.
That's where that's where Justin's going to get his hands on his brother in the ring with his hands with his fist. That's a whole lot of different kind of working out.
Sid, if you happen to listen to this, God have mercy on you, buddy. I'm going to quote Undertaker here. I hope you took your ass to church, gave your soul to the Lord, because your ass is going to belong to Justin Styles tomorrow night.
Mm.
And the same goes for that big fella, too.
Which big fella?
The big fella that goes to the ring with Sid.
Holy shit! What is, what is his name?
I don't even know what his
I
name
don't
is.
either. But when that big Joker come out in that pink cowboy hat, I about lost my tamales. I never laughed so hard.
What?
And
What?
he knocked that one dude out with his belly. You see that? He drew back that big belly, smacked that boy right in the face, knocked his ass out.
That's a lethal weapon.
It's dangerous.
I just got to thinking, what would frighten small children worse, Slugger Jackson's actual face, or the belly,
Sure, I think the
or the big
belly.
man, or the big man in that
My
cowboy
vote
hat.
goes to the belly. Wow.
Um, you've heard from other episodes. I've asked this question: if there was if the territories were still around,
Mm.
or if you had a chance, if you were actually in the territories, back in the
Mm-hmm.
70s and 80s and whatnot, what territory would you have worked in?
New Japan.
Really,
Yes.
I had it.
Not so many people don't understand New Japan because they're not exposed to it.
Mm-mm,
Until the internet come out and everybody was able to get on the internet and look up what was going on in New Japan, all you hear about is wrestlers going on tour of Japan. They come back off a tour of Japan. They just talk about it in their promos,
mm-hmm,
but you don't get to see it.
right.
So now that everybody can see it, they're understanding what's really going on in Japan. And it's like a rite of passage too for a lot of the workers to go over there because you hone your craft
Right.
in Japan. Um, there's their style of working over there is so different. You really got to feel what your opponent is doing over there, and there's a lot of strong style. You're gonna work, and you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
really work your ass off over there, and so many greats have come out of New Japan, even if it was on a short tour. When they came back, they weren't the same. That we got the better version of them after they go on tour Japan. AJ Styles,
Yeah.
Finn Balor,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the Bullet Club.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when they came back, they were much better than they were when they before they went.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my answer because I know that I would have been sharpened, that I would have been refined after going on tour. So yeah.
I I'm glad you mentioned that. That it wasn't really mentioned a whole lot. Yeah, I know WCW back in the mid '90s. They had a working relationship with New Japan, and their '95 Starrcade was pretty much WCW versus New Japan matches.
Yep.
There was that. Then some of their men and women would come over and do some matches, and vice versa. But I didn't really get full exposure to New Japan until it was actually 2017 when I actually got DirecTV for the first
See,
time,
that's my point.
and I watched all I watched their older episodes. Well, when I say older, we're talking like probably 2012, 2013, but they also showed their current stuff as well. And I think the first New Japan show I watched, it was one of their Wrestle Kingdoms, which for folks that don't know, that's their version of WrestleMania, except it happens in beginning of January every year.
Yes.
And it was Okada and Naito. It wasn't main event, but it was for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. The main event was actually Nakamura and Hiroshi Tanahashi. But I watched Diablo. I watched those matches, and I was like,
Wow.
yes.
Wow.
And what really stunned me were the fans. They sit in practical silence. You know what I'm saying?
It's a totally different environment.
Yeah.
Yes.
But one of my favorite New Japan match. Well, actually, I've got quite a few, but and Mr. Cornette, if you happen to listen to this, please don't put me on your shit list because I'm a big fan of you. But Omega and Okada, the matches they had in New Japan was just fucking
Phenomenal.
phenomenal. And my favorite one was their Dominion match that
Mm-hmm.
it was 2 out of 3 falls, but it went 60 plus minutes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then I watched Omega and Jericho at a Wrestle Kingdom, a fucking awesome show. Hiroki Goto, which I became a big fan of during the time I watched New Japan, and I was just like in utter, I was just astonished. And I remember watching an AJ Styles Nakamura match that they had in Japan. It was right after their Mania
Mm-hmm.
match, and I was like, "Holy shit! The New Japan match is loads better than their Mania match."
Right. And even when they came back and they got to fight each other again recently, it was pretty amazing watching them do it here as opposed to being over there because the fans are more the American fans, they flow with the match. They ebb and they flow. They rise and you bring them back down. And over there, it's like you're on full display, okay? And they applaud you for it's like watching the Olympics, and they applaud you for the things, the big spots, the sequences that they like. And it's harder over there, but you really learn how to give the fans what they want.
There was one wrestler over there scared the hell out of me, Minoru Suzuki, and God, I mean he's an older fella, and this guy's tough as nails. Um, he actually, according to Don, which I'm sure you're familiar with Don Callis, or at least heard the name, um, he said that Suzuki actually tapped out Shamrock twice, and this is like mid '90s in Pancrase or something like that. So automatically, he's tough as hell. Hell, he wrestled a 30-minute Broadway match with Okada back in 2018, and it was downpouring rain
Mm-hmm.
outside. I've seen this guy throw chops. I've seen him throw forearm and elbow shots. It would, let's just say it knocked his
Kill a
opponents
lesser
looping.
man,
It
yeah.
would definitely kill a lesser man. But yeah, I got nothing but respect for Suzuki, but he fucking scared the hell out of me.
Right, right.
I've actually told JC and I told Coy this AWA, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying territory days, and because again that's where Hulkamania really began, but also they were all over the place, not
Mm-hmm.
just Minnesota. They
Right.
were they were Wisconsin, they were over in Colorado, they were in Chicago, etc. And a lot of the who's who of wrestling came
Mm-hmm.
from there. Whether it was superstar Billy Graham or Jesse Ventura or one of my favorites, Ken Patera.
Adrian Adonis.
And Adrian Adonis, yeah, yeah, him and Jesse Ventura, they were the East
Mm-hmm.
West Connection
Yep.
tag team champions. Jim Brunzell, or Jumping Jim Brunzell, Ivan Koloff was over there, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll even go a little older, the Crusher, Dick the Bruiser. I mean, just the who's who. I mean, it would have been awesome to have worked for them prior to McMahon buying out the
Sure.
territories, you know. So um, I went on an AWA rabbit hole a couple of years back, and that's how I learned so much about the promotion. I watched some of their matches. I was like, dang, I was like, some good shit. Um, well, Diablo, I want to have you again on Grizzly's
I would
Cave.
love to come back.
It has been an absolute honor and a privilege sitting here with you and talking about your
It's it's
background.
it's been fun. I never get this opportunity before, um, because nobody was doing podcasts. Nobody, and the internet wasn't what the internet is today. And fortunately, um, I'm grateful for some things that uh, is that technology has provided for us in the business today that we didn't have back then. Um, my my firstborn son, he grew up with me being on the road, being in the business, traveling, taking him with me, uh, taking him into the dressing room. But there's no video, there's no document, it's just memories. And today, you know, he sees that old dad is still out there doing, his thing, and it's great that old dad can now watch old dad on the YouTube TV. You know, it's so much different. It's so much better. And look at what we have here. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, she just came in here with a plate full of tamales and rice, so it's
Oh,
gonna be
Dios mío.
we're gonna have to sign this thing off real quick.
Well, folks, again, I want to remind you again of the show tomorrow night. It's going to be Rage in the Cage. This is actually a first for all. All matches being contested inside a steel cage. I promise you will not want to miss this. Doors.
And can I interject something
Yes,
real
sir.
quick?
Go right ahead.
I was when JC and I was talking about this last month. He told me, he said, we're gonna have to fight these guys in a cage next month. I said, okay. JC, he's like my brother. I love him very much. I said, okay, I go to war with you. And he tells me it's gonna be in the main event. And I started getting choked up, and he didn't understand why. I told him, I said, brother, I love you. You're mi hermano. He's like family. But this match tomorrow night is so special for me because it's my first main event.
No kidding.
In all the years that Loco Diablo has been wrestling, this is my first main event.
I'll be dang.
So I'm super excited. I'm super pumped up, and I'm gonna go give JC and Coy and Mars everything I got, and those fans, because those fans deserve it, and I know those fans are gonna be pumped up and full of energy, and it's gonna be super exciting.
Well, speaking for the fans, I know you'll give your absolute best, and can't wait to see what you all do to the Nightmares and all. And again, folks, if you can make it out tomorrow night, it'll be at the Nebo Community Center in Nebo, Kentucky, and doors will open at 6 p.m. The show will start at 7 p.m. Again, ticket prices are free for anybody ages 0 to 5, $5 for anybody ages 6 to 12, and $8 for anybody ages 13 and up. And concessions will be available. And again, folks, I promise you will not be disappointed. And again, any donations will be greatly appreciated to the GoFundMe account. It is Help Ben Build a Future for Indie Wrestling Stars. And folks, we've got to keep independent wrestling going for as long as we can. And any donations will go to a future training facility where people can train more than just a few times a month. We can train multiple times during a week and gets the equipment. And again, any donations will be greatly appreciated. Again, Diablo, thank you so much for taking time to be on Grizzly's
Monday
Cave.
night. It's my pleasure.
And
Thank
it,
you.
it was definitely an honor and a pleasure sitting here with you and talking with you. And definitely got to have you on again, buddy.
Next time we do tequila shots.
Sounds like a plan. Just keep plenty of water though, because if I tend to drink alcohol a little too fast, and then I wind up paying the piper for it afterwards. But anyways, that'll be a story for another day. All right, folks. Well, for El Loco Diablo, this is Grizzly Andrew signing off, saying take care and God bless.